Hey, this is North Lake Desor, 7 o'clock in the morning on July 4th. It's really a cool and beautiful day. Maybe there'll be fewer bugs today. I can hope. But let me walk a little bit down here so you can see. The water source is obviously the lake. And it's pretty, but this side is not swimmable. It's all kind of rocky and slimy. So if you're trying to get in the water, it's kind of difficult. But it's still a lovely place to camp. I got in last night. I was really tired, but today I'm up and ready to go. Okay, I'll keep you posted as we're going. You can see the tent sites here are pretty nice, but I'm already packed. The ground was easier to manage than it was in Todd Harbor in terms of getting the stakes in the ground, though. It was less gravelly. It's about a mile from the trailhead to Desor Campground, so North Desor Campground. So we're just coming back to the trailhead, well, to the junction. Yesterday was the most rugged part on the island, so I'm glad we're done with that. Ouch. Today we've got a long section, but it should be actually shorter than yesterday, and not so many up and downs. So it should prove to be a lot easier. I hope so. I'll tell myself that anyway. But actually I know it. The worst part on the island is what we did in the second half of yesterday. So it's good that that part's passed. And this part's pretty easy. Dwayne's all excited. He'll meet us somewhere on the trail once I get past the beaver dams. There's one that you have to go right across the top of the beaver dam or just behind it. And it's kind of messy. We'll see what it looks like this year. But that's the crowning glory for today, is staying out of the water, staying out of the muck. Trail marker. And you can see we're going to Indigo. Off into the bushes here. Different kind of hiking, a little bit. Here we are. I'm back on top of the ridge again. But the ridge has steadily declined in height, making the climb up and down the elevations that much easier. By this time, though, I'm really happy to see that the elevations have reduced. You can see the cairns, which are helpful. I'm gonna just walk along this a little bit so you can see how it looks. I always use my trekking coat poles because it's really easy to catch a toe in a lump that you weren't anticipating. So the hiking is not slow, though. You can go pretty fast. And in general, if you're watchful about where you put in your feet, it gets extra fast. But some sandhill cranes. But we have to go down again. So, well, let's go for the way this way. just plain beautiful. It's cool. There are not as many mosquitoes, so that's nice. There's some, but I put repellent on while I was still in the tent, so I'm in pretty good shape for another hour or so. Sometimes it's fun at this time of year. You can see we're wading through ferns that go up to my neck, but you can still, if you look, the trail is still under here. Well, I don't know if you can see it. It's there though. Just gotta kind of, if it suddenly feels really soft, well, then you're probably off the trail because people have been walking here for a really long time. So stop and reorient before you go too far. The thing about these ferns is that they're a tripping hazard. Causes me to go slower. Mosquitoes want to bite. And maybe in this, pretty soon I'll stop and reapply. I had to stop and apply more mosquito repellents. In spite of the cool temperature, they're still a little bit ferocious. What I'm doing is looking for the trail down, because I have to come down this one, go all the way to the bottom there, and then come up. Back in the day, this route used to be how people got to the fire towers, and from time to time you get a little help from the red markers on the rock. So that's marking the original trail. Don't confuse the 1 in a million little red marks with lichen or moss. But oh yeah, I can see the cairn there. I guess the easier way is this way. But basically you're just picking your way over the escarpment. To get down off the end, it's pretty well a long way down. And I've come down off the rocky area and I've been walking for a few minutes. It's kind of easy hiking trail. In birch forest. This hiking feels pretty good. So now instead of just emerging on the rocky top of the ridge, we're going up and down within the forest. I have not seen or heard a moose yet this morning. I don't know if I will. Still, it's a lovely day. Having been in the forest for a while, we're going to emerge again one more time on top of the rocky ridge. This time it's the outcropping isn't so high, and we kind of skirted the edge of it. You can see there, but the trail doesn't go up there. It just stays down here along the edge. These are the parts of the Minong trail that I really like. Just walking through the forest. We're going to have some beaver dams and some swampy areas, but this is really just a walk in the forest. All right, with rocks and roots and tree branches stuck in your way, but really it's quite a nice hike. And we're continuing on we're kind of like still on the ridge. You can tell that if you look to the left and right, it goes down, and that way too. It's a slope down, but the ridges have gotten, you can see some, this is old forest. These are really huge cedar trees. So I'm kind of walk right up here. This is my trekking pole. So you get a sense. Pretty massive. Birch trees are really interesting too. Really like the birch bark. If you're in a dangerous, if you've got hypothermia or are threatening hypothermia, and it's you need to make a fire and you're really struggling, then you take little curls of birch bark, you can get a fire going. Of course, as long as you have something to light it with. Given that you can't just light fires anywhere on the island, obviously that was a tip for in the event of an emergency. The birch bark contains sap or something, so it's really quite flammable, and it will take off. If you have a little pile of that with a little pile of twigs on top, it'll get a fire going easily. And you can find it the way birch rots. The inside goes first, and you still have lots of birch bark, and you'll find this just scattered about. So when you see it, you know you can pick that up, and just even this little curls here are what you're looking for. So of course you're not going to find them in every kind of forest, but certainly in this one you will. But we're just changing from the birch trees are behind us, and we're coming into, these are maple trees, and a lot of them. So I don't know why there's a sudden difference, but these are maples, and there is a difference. That's kind of an example of what happens with the birch trees. Inside rots out, but the birch bark still remains. So you'll find pieces where you can easily pick them up. Courtesy of the trail crew, we have a river crossing. Really kind of nasty river. Looks like more like runoff, but we're gonna cross. Well, I'm sitting here with my boots off, taking a 5, having a little lunch, getting eaten by mosquitoes on my feet. Oh, that didn't used to be a problem because my boots were on. I'm gonna have to spray my socks. But just sitting here enjoying the forest. One thing about this really long hike, the really long ones, you need to stop and snack. You need to rest your feet. And just pull them out of the boots and let them dry a little bit. For me, it's really difficult if I don't use my bladder on the longer hikes because I can't drink without taking my pack off. And I need to drink more often than I need to take my pack off. So that's something I think about. Even if I don't use it on more mellow hikes, I do on the really long ones. Makes the water warm because it's sitting against your back, but being able to drink water is better. One of the problems with using the bladder is it's hard to ration the water. I started this morning with 3 liters. I'm about a third of the way of the hike, so I can drink 1 liter, which I've done thus far. So I took the second, I keep 2 Nalgene bottles. I had 1 liter in the bladder and 1 liter in each of the Nalgene bottles. So now I've dumped one of the Nalgene bottles into the bladder so I can drink while I'm hiking. Now I know that I cannot open the third container of water until I get 3/4 of the way through. Actually, so this would be, I could use it in the last third. The hike is best done slowly instead of trying to race. You miss everything if you race. But just for water conservation, be mindful of it, because now in this last hike there is no place to get water until I get to Wendigo. All of the water between here and there is in nasty beaver dams, and you do not want to filter from there. So Desor, Lake Desor, is the last place coming into Wendigo where you can get decent water. Some of the vegetation I'm walking through is taller than I am, so just keep pushing through. And then we have, I believe it's the back of a beaver dam. You can see the water in there. So we're coming out of that pretty gnarly area. Yeah, it's a beaver dam. That could be kind of gross. See this, trail crew did a good job helping us get across. Got some rocks to walk on. Yeah, this is the area where it's easy to get lost because there's a lot of moose trails in here. And when you get across, you got to go the right way or you're going to be up to your neck in nastiness. The question is, where does it go when you get across, right? So I'm going to go here. See what I was saying about the birch bark? So you can find it in lots of places. And maybe that was a birch tree back in the day, but I don't know if those are giving us notice of which way to go. Let's try that way. See the couple of flags there? Clearly that way doesn't look very good. We're not going to get up it, so looks like everyone's going this way. The ribbons were really helpful. You can see we're going to cross here through the mud and up over there on the bank. We love the trail crew for that. Well, we crossed through that and we're back into this over my head weeds, so I'll carry on. This is a little bit different terrain too. It's still kind of mushy with the brush, but it's interspersed with big trees, and you get these big roots as trail impediments. A lot of times it's covered over. Another one of those situations of nasty muck. So I need my poles, and I got to find a good way across. See, it's hiding under the surface. Now this does not look so good. It appears that moose have stepped on whatever has been put in there, but I'm gonna poke around to find the solid stuff. There is something under there, so you won't sink fully, but if you do, your boot comes off in the muck. I don't know about these people trying to go around. You just stay. Maybe they didn't have trekking poles or something, or maybe they think that these are going to sink, but no, these are here, so it's not that hard. Just take your time a little bit. No moose at this time. This is the first of 3 I'll cross today. And here's another different kind of looking area. So we came off across the beaver dam, came up with this big messy rock mess. It's a big dead tree. And now coming over that, we got a looks walking along, and you come to this and you go, yep, I can see that's where I'm going. And I still keep going up the hill here. Came to the street side, went up, and keep going up and up and up. You can see and there we are, back on the top of the world again. I remember what accounts for this is some years ago there was a forest fire, and then a lot of the trees got damaged. So that would at least partially explain it. You can see more evidence of the fire on these trees, but we're going back down. I think the second beaver dam should be coming up pretty soon. I don't know what these are, but they're really pretty. They seem to be all around me. Well, on this side anyway, and there. So we went down, down, down until we could cross a creek. Now we're coming up, up, up. Up the other side. Stopping just to catch my breath. You can see, you can get a sense of the grade. It's pretty steep. And we're up again. Looks like somebody overestimated their ability. A Simmons Beauty Rest is not a backpacking item, but I can't carry it. I'll let the trail crew know when I get to Wendigo. This is it's probably about, but this is 7 miles out, so got 5 more to go, maybe a hair more than 5. It's a bit of a hike yet, though.
This is shelter 9. I'm gonna head out to Minong to go meet Beth. This is basically the beginning of both the Greenstone and the Minong. I just left out of Washington Creek Campground. Up here a ways, the Greenstone will branch off to the right. I think the next thing I'm going to come across is the group sites path for Washington Creek. It's been threatening rain. Sprinkled a few times, but I'm traveling real light today. Got a couple bottles of water. I did bring my rain jacket. Matter of fact, here's the group site. So officially, I am now leaving Washington Creek Campground. It's still unseasonably cold. I've not had high temperatures above 60. Anxious to hear Beth's story. Right here's where the Greenstone goes off to the right. Straight forward is the Minong and the Huggin Cove Trail. If you were going to Rock Harbor, the Greenstone, Isle of Mine, 5.8 miles from here. This is the Minong and the Huggin Cove Trail. fixing to go over Washington Creek. I believe this used to be an old dam from back in the mining days. Not sure what the solar panels and stuff do now. But this is Washington Creek. Coming up on the West Huggin Cove Junction. Go straight out that trail. It's about 4 miles to Huggin Cove. We're going this way. Coming up on the East Huggin Cove trail marker, which means we're about 1.5 miles out of the campground. The post says it's 3.3 miles to Huggin Cove. They don't give a mileage on North Desor. We are officially past any cutoffs. So this trail, next stop would be North Desor. I'm about 1.5 miles out. I actually expect to see Beth probably in the next mile. I told her I wouldn't come too much farther than a couple miles out. She should be coming relatively quickly. Last report was at noon, and she was well over halfway. So she's been cruising for another 2 hours. It's 2:15 now. She's pretty fast paced. With her light pack, she could probably do, I'll be surprised if she wasn't doing 2 miles an hour average. There are some places that are slower, but there's also some places you can make up ground on this trail. I think the fastest we've ever done it is 7.5 hours.